welcome back to my channel Fly High with Priya. In this video I'll be discussing a novel that is The Color Purple, which is written by Alice Walker. Now it is having very different kind of themes. That is, the theme of racism is discussed, the oppression which is faced by black women in their own community is shown, and how black people are exploited in the hands of white people. Then there is the theme of homosexuality, means in a very open way the writer or the author has discussed this theme, and it was for the first time that author was dealing with this kind of theme. And it is having autobiographical elements too, and this autobiographical element adds you can say a different color in the novel. The homosexual elements were seen in the writer also, means it is said that Alice Walker too had such strains. Now let's begin with the novel. The main character of the novel is Silly, and this novel is written in the form of epistolary, means there are letters. This Silly is writing letters to God, and after some time she just shifts and she starts writing the letters to her sister Nettie. Now when the novel opens, Silly is a 14 years black girl, and she is not that beautiful, means she's normal, average looking girl. Now, as she was not beautiful, so she was she was not having that proper good life. She had a sister Nettie, and another his father was there, his mother was there. His father was Alfonso, and his mother used to remain ill. Now she was sexually harassed by her own father, and she was impregnated by him twice. And when he used to sexually harass, he used to say that you don't have to tell this thing to anybody. You just can share this with a God. Means only God can be the person who this thing can be shared. So she started writing letters, and in those letters she started to pour her feelings out. And in that very letters she describes how she was sexually harassed by her own father, and how he took away the two children. One was boy and one was girl, and she doesn't know that what has happened with those boys and with those children. Now what happens, in the meantime, that mother of Sally dies, and there is entry of a man that is Mr. Dash. Means he's always written as Mr. Dash, and somewhere it is written that his name is Albert, but she always says that he is Mr. Dash. Now his entry is there, and he's like he is attracted towards Nettie, and he says that I want to marry Nettie. But this Alfonso, he says that you can marry Silly. She is means she is a hard-working girl. She can work just like an animal, and she will you don't have to pay her. And the most you can say important thing is that she won't become a mother. I mean, we don't have to suffer, means she'll never get pregnant. At that very particular note, this Mr. Dash is somewhat convinced, and he agrees to marry Silly, though he doesn't like her at all. Now she got married, but she was in a very, you can say, she was having very stress about the condition of Nettie. She thinks that Alfonso will in the same way harass her sister. But the conditions of Silly doesn't improve. When she got married, she has to face that separation. She has to go through the same feelings, the same harassment which was laid by her father. Mr. Dash doesn't like her. He never cared about her. He always he means ignored her. And he was a widower, he had many children, and they all were very spoiled, and they used to just make the life of Silly more miserable. She used to work hard like a horse, and nobody cared her, nobody loved her, and means time passed like this only. Only one person, Harpo, was there. He was the youngest, he was the eldest child of Mr. Dash, and he was somewhat kind towards this girl, Silly. And Harpo is in love with Sophia, and he in the meantime marries Sophia. Now Sophia is a very different character. She is a black girl, but she is very independent. When Harpo Harpo wants to control her, but he never lets him control. She is independent, and she works according to her her wishes. Whatever she wants to do, she just continues with that. Now as this Harpo wants to control her, so he asks Silly that what should I do, how should I control this very girl. So Silly, as she was jealous of this girl Sophia, because she was in total contrast now. This Silly was always very mild and cold, very sensitive kind of person who just took the separations quietly, but she was very open-minded and very, you can say, resentful. So she was quite jealous, and she just says that if you want to control Sophia, you just should beat her. Means it is the only thing you can do. So Harpo is convinced, and he goes and he tries to beat Sophia. But in return, what happens? Sophia beats Harpo in a very bad condition, and she just leaves the house after beating him severely. Now what happens, Sophia's life at that very point changed. She came in contact with Silly, means they become quite friends after some time, and Silly was quite guilty that she's the one who has destroyed the house of Harpo and Sophia. She has destroyed the life of Sophia. If she wouldn't have given that suggestion, her life would have been different. So she one day apologizes, and she says that I am sorry, it is because of me that all these things have happened. I was the one who gave such suggestion. So Sophia was not angry. She says that I have suffered so much in the life, my childhood was not that good. I just suffered a lot in hands of my parents, in hands of other people, and those incidents made me stronger. And now I am not able to, nobody can control me at that in present. And so this happens, and Sophia just went to work with some person, and as her children were very clean, Sophia's children were very clean and they were very neat. So the mayor's wife wants that she should take care of the children of this mayor and Mrs. Mayor. So she refuses. Mr. Mayor behaves badly with her, and so what happens? Sophia beats Mayor, and as he was a white person, so she was sent to jail, and for 20 years, she was jailed for 20 years. In this way, her whole life was destroyed. In the meantime, what happens? There is an entry of a lady that is Miss Shug Averi. Now, she was the mistress of this man, Mr. Dash. They were having an affair, but as she doesn't want you can say she doesn't want to live a household life. She wanted an independent life. That's why she refused to marry Mr. Dash. And she was ill. She was suffering from a disease, and nobody was there to take care of that lady. So Mr. Dash brings her to that house, and she was a singer who was very famous, and Silly knows about this women. What happens now? That she just, when she was about to come, so this lady Silly was very happy that I'll be finally meeting this Shug Averi, and she decorates her house and colors, paints the room with the color purple, purple color is painted, and all the curtains are changed. And when she arrives, Silly is very happy, and she takes care of this lady very happily. And what happens in the meantime, as she was taking care of this lady, they both get attracted towards each other, and there are homosexual elements. Silly starts liking Shug Averi, and there is sexual intimacy between them also. In the meantime, what happens? What has happened that Nitty was harassed by his father, and she ran away from that house, and she came to Mr. Dash and Silly's house. But Mr. Dash was again attracted towards her, and she doesn't want to destroy her sister's house. So she leaves the house and says that I'll write letters to you. And she was writing letters, but Mr. Dash never shared those letters. And one day, as Silly was doing some work, she found the letters which were sent by Nitty. And she was, when she read them, she was very angry with Mr. Dash. From those very letters, she found that this Silly has found a job, and she is living with a person, Samuel and Corin, and they have gone to Africa, and they are working as a missionary. They are leading a good life, and as Britishers have attacked Africa, and they are taking away the plantations, so they have to move to another place. And in the meantime, what happens? Corin just thinks that the two kids which Samuel and Corin were having, they were adopted kids, and they looked somewhat like Nettie. So this Corin thought that these are the kids of Samuel and Nettie. So she one day asked Nettie, and Nettie tells them that these two boys, these two girls and boys, they are the children of her sister Silly. And in the meantime, Corin dies out of some disease, and these four people, that is Adam, Olivia, the two children of Silly, and Samuel and Corin, they four moved to United States. So, to London, UK. And Samuel and Nettie gets married, and she writes that they'll be coming to Georgia to meet this Silly very soon. Now, as she reads these letters, she's very upset with Mr. Dash, and she decides that she will leave Mr. Dash, and she will start a new and fresh life. So with this Shug Averi, and she moves to Memphis, and there they did both, that Shug Averi and Silly start a new life. Silly starts just doing the work of tailoring. She became very famous for stitching pants. And Shug Averi, as she was a singer, so she continues with her concerts and all these things. But she was involved with other men, and Silly never liked this thing, and she was against this. She doesn't like this. In the meantime, she also finds from those letters that Alfonso was not their father. He was a stepfather, and he has died. She comes to know later on that he has died, and he has just given the property to Silly. So Silly goes there and starts living at that particular place, at that very house. Now, Mr. Dash too realizes his mistake. In the meantime, he apologizes to this Silly, and there is a proper reunion, you can say. Sophia, who was sentenced for 20 years, she was released after 11 years, and Silly was there, Mr. Dash was there. They was having a cordial relationship with them, and Shug Averi is also there at Mr. Dash's place. Harpo and Sophia, they all are sitting and they were dining, and finally it is found that Nitty and this Samuel and their children will be coming soon. So next day, what happens? They both these four people come, and on a very happy note, this novel ends. She is united Sally is united with her sister Nettie and with her two children, that is Adam and Olivia. On this very note, happy note, that she became an independent woman who just started to know herself, who has started to recognize herself, who started to take the steps according to her wishes. So this was the novel in which homosexual elements, oppression of black women, and other many different things have been covered by Alice Walker. And it was the novel which was written in 1982, and it won the Pulitzer Prize also. But it was banned because of the themes with which this novel deals. I hope the summary of this novel is clear to you. Thank you for watching. जाने से पहले do subscribe, share and like my videos. Till then, bye bye.